There are disasters. And then there are moments like this, moments when nature doesn't just test the limits of a region, it shatters them. What unfolded in Yunnan is not simply a flood story. It is a convergence of forces, atmospheric, structural, and human, colliding in a way that feels almost apocalyptic. 68.2 millimeters of rain in a single hour. Pause and think about that. That is not a passing storm. That is the sky opening with relentless intensity, unloading a month's worth of water in the time it takes to watch a short film. Now imagine that rainfall pounding hillsides already saturated, rivers already swollen, reservoirs already straining, the ground unable to absorb another drop, the pressure building quietly, invisibly, until suddenly it is no longer quiet. Then the dam collapses. A dam is meant to symbolize control, engineering, mastery over chaos. It stands as a barrier between rising water and downstream communities. When that barrier fails under extreme rainfall, the psychological shock is as devastating as the physical impact. The release is not gradual. It is violent. A wall of water surges forward, carrying mud, debris, fragments of infrastructure, and the terrifying force of gravity-driven acceleration. Entire districts submerged. Highways transformed into rivers in minutes. Vehicles stranded like toys. Subway systems flooded as tunnels built beneath the confidence of modern urban design filled with murky, unstoppable water. Airports crippled. Transportation frozen. Ruined. A province forced into stillness by motion, the motion of water that refuses containment. And what makes this even more chilling is how quickly everything unraveled. Despite drainage upgrades, despite sponge city systems designed to absorb and redirect excess rainfall, despite early warnings, the rainfall intensity simply overwhelmed design limits. Infrastructure is built on probability models, on historical records, on assumptions of what is rare. But what happens when rare events become recurring? What happens when the atmosphere begins delivering extremes that exceed the past's imagination? The footage is haunting. Residential blocks swallowed waist-deep in brown water. Streets erased under churning currents. Families evacuating under emergency lights in the darkness of night. The sound of sirens mixing with rainfall. Emergency crews wading through flooded roads, working against exhaustion and uncertainty. And this did not occur in isolation. Across central and southwestern China, more than 25 rivers exceeded safe levels. Historic records, some standing since the 1950s, were broken. The Kaikei River reaching heights unseen in over 70 years. The Shower River cresting at levels not recorded in nearly 3 decades. Tens of thousands relocated. Dams monitored under stress. Levees tested. Hillsides primed for landslides. When multiple river basins surge simultaneously, it becomes a systems crisis. Water has nowhere to disperse. Relief channels fill. Reservoir management becomes a high-stakes calculation. One miscalculation, one delayed release can cascade into disaster. It is a balancing act against time and physics, but beyond the hydrology and engineering lies something deeper: vulnerability. This flood followed immediately after a suffocating heat wave. Weeks of extreme temperatures strain power grids, deplete water supplies, exhaust emergency responders, and weaken public health systems. When the heat breaks, it sometimes breaks violently. The atmosphere, supercharged with moisture and instability, releases its burden with explosive intensity. Heat, then deluge. Sequential extremes. So, emergency crews already stretched thin now face inundated roads, trapped residents, landslide risks, and contamination warnings. Public health officials caution against waterborne disease as floodwaters mix with sewage systems and debris. Boil water advisories spread. Hospitals prepare for secondary impacts. The crisis extends beyond the visible waterline. And still, the rain threatens to continue. Meteorologists describe monsoonal convergence amplified by lingering typhoon remnants emerging of tropical moisture with inland systems. Under warmer atmospheric conditions, air holds more water vapor. When conditions trigger release, rainfall rates intensify. Convergent zones become rainfall engines. Inland regions once unaccustomed to tropical force downpours now face rainfall totals that rival coastal storm systems. This is not about a single storm cell. It is about pattern shifts. Record-breaking river levels are not just statistics. They are indicators. They tell us the envelope of what is possible is expanding. Infrastructure built for yesterday's extremes is encountering tomorrow's reality. Yet amidst devastation, there is resilience. First responders navigating flooded streets in darkness. Volunteers assisting evacuations. Authorities issuing real-time bulletins. Neighbors helping neighbors carry belongings to higher floors. Communities opening shelters. That human response determined, coordinated. Urgent becomes the thin line between catastrophe and even greater tragedy. But resilience should not mean normalization. No community should have to brace annually for once-in-a-generation floods. No evacuation should feel routine. No dam failure should feel inevitable. These events demand analysis, adaptation, and long-term investment in stronger, smarter infrastructure and forecasting systems. Watching submerged neighborhoods forces uncomfortable questions. How many more districts worldwide sit one rainfall event away from similar outcomes? How many drainage systems are already operating near capacity? How many riverbanks have been urbanized beyond safe margins? Extreme weather is no longer a distant headline. It is a recurring global narrative. From inland valleys to coastal megacities, rainfall intensification is challenging assumptions. Urban planners must reconsider flood maps. Engineers must revisit dam safety margins. Policymakers must evaluate evacuation readiness. Public awareness must increase. And that is why coverage matters. Clear, fact-based reporting is critical during events like this. Sensationalism without context breeds panic. Silence breeds complacency. Balanced, data-driven analysis helps communities understand risk, track developments, and prepare intelligently. The images from Yunnan are sobering not because they are rare, but because they feel increasingly familiar. Highways underwater, subway tunnels flooded, historic river levels surpassed, tens of thousands displaced. This is not just a regional disaster. It is part of a broader pattern of intensifying climate volatility. My thoughts remain with every family displaced, every worker responding under dangerous conditions, and every community facing uncertainty as rivers remain elevated and forecasts signal continued risk. Recovery will require coordination, resources, and time. Secondary flooding and landslides remain possible. Vigilance cannot waver. If you believe accurate severe weather coverage is essential not just during crisis, but before and after, please support Weather Floods. Subscribe for detailed updates, ongoing monitoring, and in-depth breakdowns of major weather events worldwide. Turn on notifications so you don't miss critical developments as situations evolve. In a world of accelerating extremes, staying informed is not optional, it is protective. Knowledge empowers preparation. Preparation saves lives. Stay informed. Stay prepared. Stay resilient.